Hello and welcome back to my playthrough of GTNH. It is October 8th. I'm just taking advantage of this cryogenic chamber. I don't think I ever actually showed that I crafted this guy the other day, but it is sweet. You can finally sleep through red moons. Not that I really have enemies going on, or if it's raining during the day, which makes my choice to stay on the overworld instead of the personal dimension feel a lot better. But anyways, so what I got done today, I actually got quite a bit. This was a very productive day, but I'm just going to kind of start from the beginning and kind of go through my chain of events as it was. So last night when I finished off, I was definitely really tired, but I was like, oh, hey, I'm going to throw up this one multi-block and let it run, and then I'll have enough resources for the next day. And me and my tiredness, I did not really appreciate kind of how cool this little algae farm is. We won't really need to use it much, and but it's really sweet. So one of the things I definitely didn't appreciate or even notice while I was tired is that it does not actually require power to run. I just kind of started running it and didn't notice I was real tired, and no muffler hatch or anything. But then I went to sleep, left the server running, woke up and had basically the same amount of resources from it, and that's because I forgot to chunk load the area. But that's alright though, because ultimately it wouldn't have mattered because I did not read the quest book or the wiki for it. And one of the things, so specifically I was aiming for the brown algae mass, this guy right here, or brown algae biomass, and you need to have, I believe, IV casings and above. I could be wrong. It has it all on the wiki. I did end up going for LUV casings, which then the multi-block ended up not forming anymore, and so I had to go back to the wiki, and it turns out, so as a trade-off for not having any power, whatever casings you use, you have to have input hatches, your input hatch and your input bus to be the same tier. And it has to have those even though I'm not actually using the input bus, because you can put compost or something like that in here and make it go faster, but that's fine. We don't need very much of this. And then so I actually crafted this input bus first, which was kind of a cool intersection of things I'm trying to do, where I'm trying to progress the game while or the way I like to do it, where you progress the game while doing side quests. So in this case, the ability to craft an input bus for LUV, you need to have an LUV assembler. So I actually hopped over, forced myself to get through the hassle of crafting up the different components for the assembler. So I did that quest, the You're Gonna Hate This, where you get the piston, pump, conveyor, and robot arm, and manually did that without the pattern processing thing, and then came over through that in there, then realized it still wasn't forming, and that's because this reservoir hatch is actually an EV tier hatch, so it wouldn't allow this to form. So I just did it this way, and I was like, don't even need to do this, because you don't need to keep refilling this with water. You just need the initial bucket to get it started. But I don't know, just in case I turn it off or something breaks or whatever. But yeah, so this guy got rolling, and with that I was actually able to get the brown biomass, which the whole reason I was doing that was specifically to get the MAR CE ingot, and to see whether trying to aim for the Mark 1 precision assembler was going to even be possible. Because again, we need to craft it. I was aiming for this recipe here with the ceruleum and the steel ingot, where you need molten lithium chloride, which the way I chose to get it, if you follow it all the way back, is this recipe is not the correct recipe, but basically you run this stuff through the EBF, and then that'll give you the dust form of this guy, and just do standard, get it to molten, smelt it, melt it, boom. So I did all that, got it set up under here, and it didn't work. You hop up over here, and it says not enough power, needs ZPM. So then I went back to the wiki. It's like, okay, I could have swore I read you could tier skip with it, and not including overclocking, go to the next tier above that. It turns out you can, and the way you specifically do it is by using a 64 amp energy hatch. So the way I went about it is on that new power source I set up down below, I took up 4 of its hatches to go directly into 4 insane 16 battery insane voltage battery buffers, and then I'm using superconductor wire to reduce the loss and going into this guy, and it worked. It was great. I was so excited that we were able to do it. Where I end up getting to for progress today, ultimately this probably really doesn't matter, and I'm like a hop skip away from LUV energy hatches anyway, so this really wasn't necessary, but it was kind of fun and exciting to do, and I wanted to see if I could do it. So now I know for the future, if for some reason I need something at, I don't even know what the one is after ZPM, ULV I think, but anyways, I'll know what to do if that comes up. I don't know if I'm going to keep this running. So far it doesn't seem to be giving me any power issues, but I'm kind of hesitant to keep rolling on this, just because this is 64 amps of IV is still a lot, even with that new setup. Mox reactor is better, but it's not that much better. This is like something like, I want to say like 400,000, and I think that thing down there produces 300,000, so if I craft for too long, this will drain the system completely, not to mention the other things that are being fed off it. But for the moment, I thought this was a cool victory. So then, to continue working towards the tier 1 block, which I really need to pin over here, tier I or assembler, circuit assembler, assembly line, precise assembler. I'm just gonna make sure I pin this. Sorry, I always forget to do this, and like I said, I say it all the time, but this isn't the computer I play on during the day. This is my desktop at home, whereas I normally play on a laptop throughout the day. So this guy is, so the reason I even got to this, so I was just working my way through. I can make these ZPM casings. I've got these all crafted already, in fact. Actually, do I? I'm pretty sure I have these all crafted. The robot arms, no problems. The aluminum was the first alloy I got to. Now we're good on this MAR-CE alloy. So the next thing up was the high computation station Mark 1. This guy was pretty straightforward, except for this engril, or no, getting specifically to this signalium bolt, which is actually something we need in both parts of it. This was the next alloy up. This guy led me into my next rabbit hole for the day. So if we follow it all the way back to this dust, it is another one of these kind of recipes with the dust and a molten needed, which is fine. We set that up in the mixer already. However, one problem, ardite dust. The everything else on here, red alloy, annealed copper, no problem. But ardite, we do not have a lot of ardite, or we didn't. So ardite is something we can actually get through bees, and it was a very simple bee to get. All it took was infernal bees and industrious. Both of the things I have long since had bred. So I got those bred up, and the problem is that if we look at the ardite bee from here, we go, and what it produces honeycombs and then ardite nuggets at only 18%, which if you throw it in the Algae that's got the plus 16 production, you get 90 of these an hour, so 10 ingots an hour. And I believe I needed 500 and something to be able to just do the to make the signalium that I needed for the high computation stations. So this wasn't gonna work. So my first gut response was, oh god, I'm gonna have to spam Alvarez again, yada yada. I was like, no, we're gonna do the same thing, kind of like the algae. We're gonna keep moving forward, keep progressing. So for the first time, I actually have the industrial apiary. I was able to craft some of these climate upgrades. These were specifically being held back because of all of them take this climate control module, which needs this LUV motor. The other stuff in here wasn't too big of a deal. This iridium alloy item casing, this is actually another thing the iridium alloy you need to craft in the implosion compressor, so this was just setting up a few patterns. No big deal for any of this stuff, like all these patterns need to be set up. One of the actual problems I had was this uranium comb and iridium comb. So there are a few different ways to approach it. Like I could have set up level emitters over here. These are the LCRs that specifically do uranium, palladium, iridium, osmium. But instead, just to kind of speed it up and make sure I'm always set for it, I actually finally moved this off of the main network, because it was all on the main network, to the sub network, because I was only using 3 channels or something like that, 5 channels so far. The way I did it was, instead of doing like an import bus, I did a storage bus with a super high priority into these guys, and then lock these to just be able to hold 1 stack. This was because I was breeding bees and realized I'd accidentally used up all my honey drops, because they're all extracting over there into that fluid extractor. And then these all are just being also seen by a storage bus on the main network. A reason I had to make sure I moved this over, though, is because I was importing all the uranium on the main net. So if I had tried to do this before, it wouldn't have mattered. It would still pull out of the storage bus into here. But now that's just the subnet coming over here. These are just waiting in reserve, so I'll always be able to craft the climate module, and then it'll fill up as the bees breed. And same with for my honey drop, I'll always have more to be able to use the Beolyzer. So it's pretty straightforward. Got these done, and then I believe I actually swapped this up to the tier 5 for a little bit, just to speed it up and let myself be able to get all the signalium I needed. And then once that was done, I swapped it down to the tier 4. Reason for that was because my power is still kind of struggling over here. If you look, even with it swapped down, excuse me, I'm using 80,000. I turned a couple machines off here because I was actually using more with everything than I was creating down here. So in the near future, like tomorrow or the next day, but definitely by the end of the week, because I want to spam more industrial apiaries and get some of the stuff like diamond that I kind of am flirting with running out with all the time on higher speeds. I want all these guys upgraded to Mox. Shouldn't be too big of a deal to do. Actually, I already have the storage cells partitioned and everything for it. I would really just need to come in here, pull all the uranium out, throw in Mox, and then just make sure everything that says uranium over here is swapped to say Mox, and we'll be good to go. It should be a pretty quick swap. I might even do it first thing tomorrow, because it should just be that easy, and then turn it on and hope nothing blows up, see if I miss anything. But that was cool. Like I said, I got that done, got all the ardite I need, and then from there, because I was waiting, on top of that, I was, like, once I got all the ardite, like, a lot of these crafts were taking a while. Actually, just real quick, this is where I ended up throwing the LUV assembler, this kind of area. I didn't show it off yesterday. This is all my different assemblers for level maintainers I have going on, because it's got each one of these is a unique one for the different SMDs, just so they're keeping up faster. I never did swap back to the tantalum recipe. I'm actually not even sure where I am for tantalum 8000. I probably should or could, but for now these are all good. And then I threw one down specifically for chests. Excuse me for 1 second. Alright, and we're back. Hopefully my throat is good now. I've attempted to do this second half a couple times now, and my voice just keeps cutting out. So we'll see. But anyways, like I said, I got my LUV assembler up here. I also did this little temporary setup. That's kind of what I want to use this area for up here, is temporary setups where I do plan on moving this stuff. This was basically ardite nuggets coming in, melting, solidifying, and then going back out. I could have done it as, like, patterned it and just pat it as part of the process to get the signalium, but I thought this way might be a little better, at least a little faster for a little bit, and give me a better idea than trying to divide the current nugget count by 9 when I was trying to figure out whether I had enough to do it. So this is that. This LUV assembler will obviously either come down here or ultimately replaced by the multi-block versions, which I haven't even looked into those, whether I'm close to being able to craft those or not. I hope so, but if not, these will get swapped out with LUV once I bump up my power production a little more. So that was that setup. While I was waiting for the Ardite to craft, I did come down here. I didn't, excuse me, missed the floor. I did come in here and start manually doing all the different components I needed to get to the pattern processing terminal, because that has been like my major short-term goal lately. The main thing holding it back, though, was a lot of these components, which you have to do manually, and I was kind of being lazy about it and wanted to do it later, but getting the assembler earlier to get the algae pond set up kind of got me inspired to just knock this out. Then on top of it, this item processor tier 4. So to get this guy, we needed an LUV assembler anyways, but then on top of it, to get the engraved quantum chip, I needed to get a LUV laser engraver. Now, once I went into the quest book to see why the quest didn't pop up, because it's actually a checkbox quest, I was like, oh, I should have crafted the multi-block version. I didn't even think about it at the time. So that'll be on the relatively short-term list, is to get the multi-block version going and pull that stuff out of the clean room as well. I think once I can pull everything out of the clean room, I might make a new higher tier diesel production just for where I need it, and chunk load that entire thing. That'll be a ton of blocks that I can pull off of that if I do it, but we'll see. Not really worried about it. I'm not having performance issues yet, but it feels like eventually it might be something that might be worth my time to worry about. So I did get an LUV laser engraver. I don't know if it's worth really hopping over to the clean room to show it. Basically all I did was swap out the EV one with an LUV one, and then there's already IV power in there, so I used a high amp transformer and turned it into step up mode to get the LUV power. I did to make sure I didn't have any issues with it, though. What I haven't done yet until today was I did make the LUV battery. These ones were pretty straightforward since they are Cenarium and I've got Cenarium set up. And now I'm thinking about it, I don't think I ever actually showed my Cenarium setup. I did it weeks ago and I kept forgetting to bring it up. So instead of showing just a single block laser engraver, I'll show that off real quick. Mind you, this was days ago, but over here, it's literally just this guy. I have it fully encased because I wasn't sure whether it would melt down or not. And over elsewhere, I have the glowstone rods on basically in the same crafting area as my other rods. All this guy does is pull out the depleted glowstone and input which are the Cenarium rods, and input that, and then it only runs when this guy's going. And oh, look at the timing. It needs thaumium dual rods to run, but instead of doing any sort of automation, just because I figured I wouldn't need to do it very often, because I am using a level maintainer to also shut that reactor off, I just swapped those out manually. So if there's only 2 minutes left, I'm actually going to have to go do that tomorrow, but we have plenty of Cenarium. I have the level maintainer at 4,000, so we are good on that front. So with all that, though, I did push through, got all the components I needed, crafted the tier 4 circuit thing, and then was able to finally craft the ME processing pattern terminal. Now, I feel really silly because it was pointed out in the comments there's a way to get one without doing any of the stuff that I went through to get this particular guy, and that is the fluid processing pattern terminal, as well as the quest book tells you this, but, you know, reading. Now, let's see. So, if I go to the AE tab, sorry, it looks so different on this computer, so it throws me off. No, that's bees. Applied energetics over here just tells you, it says why not make the directly, so it doesn't tell you this. But when I'm looking at this pattern, I didn't realize this is just a fluid patterning terminal with some LUV components upgrade and then an annihilation core. I don't know why this doesn't need the fluid tier 4. I actually assumed this was the regular processing patterning terminal. So then I was kind of like looking around because I thought there was a way to skip to the pattern processing, but I couldn't see it as a quest reward anywhere. I tried searching for it and stuff, so I was like, all right, I didn't like mess around with it. I was like, I have to get this item ultimately anyways, so I did craft that. And then once I crafted it, I was like, oh wait, I could have had this for a while and set these guys up on the pattern and not like manually done it twice basically. But so I did get both of them, and obviously I have them set up here. This was pretty sweet. I haven't set up any patterns yet, but that'll be for the immediate future to set that up. Other things for the future, like I said, I'm going to upgrade the B power to Mox probably tomorrow. It seems like everything else for the precise assembler should be fine. At this point, I'm just waiting on crafting. And then once I get the precise assembler, I'll get that neutron activator. We'll see if there's any alloys that send me on any mini quests there. And then finish up the Naquata line. And then from there, I'm pretty open to where I go, whether it be the tier 4 rocket, or just more pattern setups, or regular progression, the LUV hatch. I do think I need to go to Europa for the LUV hatch, if I was looking at the quest book right. So it might be after I finish this little kind of main side quest thing that I go work on the tier 4 rocket. But I'm also kind of interested in this right here, setting up some Volcanuses, and then this will be a weekend thing, decommission all those thorium reactors. Anyways, this was a little bit of a longer one. Like I said, a lot of progress today. I was very excited for it. It was a very fun day. I was ecstatic about being able to tier skip down here on the Mega EBF with that 64 amp patch, and I am going to go get some more water because my throat is being weird. So I hope everybody has a good night. Thank you for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.